My first guest has had a show business career that has spanned over 6 decades. He is often called the king of the one-liners. Please welcome Mr. Henny Youngman. Nice of you to be here.
Thank you very much.
Thank you for being here.
It's a pleasure, really.
You actually play this, don't you?
Oh, sure. 2 ways for pleasure or revenge.
Now, how did you did you start in music or start in comedy?
I don't know. I was thrown out of school for comedy, and every Jewish kid had to learn how to play the fiddle. Heifetz was the ambition of every Jewish parent. They wanted you to play good like Heifetz. And I think it came from Europe when they weren't harassed with music. They could play opera, they could play whatever they want. So when people got out of there, they wanted their kids to be a musician. Well, it didn't happen with me.
Now, I want to ask you where you did include this in the act. Tell me first how you got started in being a comic.
Well, I had a band like Spike Jones, and there was some of the guys, Ted Lehman, a lot of guys are still around, and we played dances and weddings and bar mitzvahs, wherever he could get a job. And we had 5 different guys in the band, different races. If one guy got the job, he was the leader that night. If I got the job, I was the leader. Once my band was called Swanee Syncopators.
The Swanee what?
Swanee Syncopators. We took a name like that. Then we went to Flatbush. It was the Flatbush Ramblers. We took the name of every locale. That way we didn't get any fights. When they had fights in the dance halls.
The fights break out all the time?
Oh, yeah. They thought we were local guys. They wouldn't bother us.
I see. Now, how did you get from being in the band to comedy?
Well, I went to Minor Training High School, and the teachers didn't like it when I said something funny, right? So they put you down to detention, which is a room downstairs. You're supposed to sit there.
Beat you with hoses?
No, they don't bother you. They just... they sit you there, right?
I see.
You're supposed to wait there. I wouldn't wait. I found out there was vaudeville theaters. I got a quarter for lunch, so instead of sitting there for 2 hours, I used to go to a theater. The Prospect Theater in Brooklyn had vaudeville. The Bay Ridge Theater, you had the Metropolitan, all those theaters were in existence. So going to those theaters, I probably absorbed a lot of jokes. And I told them to my friends, and I was funny. You know, I was the life of the party guy.
So you were emceeing these shows at the theater and so forth? And then
no, I wasn't at the theater. I used to take the jokes from the other acts, though.
Oh, you would go to steal the jokes. Oh, I see, yeah.
So now I had a band, and we worked in the Nut Club in Jersey. We had a band like Spike Jones. And one night, David Hartman's folks, the Hartmans, were a dance team. They didn't show up.
David Hartman's parents
were a dance team? Sure, the Hartmans. They were a great dance team. And they didn't show up, and I went on.
He never mentions that. The guy has been on the air every morning for 10 years. Not once has he mentioned his mom and dad as a dance team.
You're right. Anyway, they didn't show up. I went on that night, and I did all the jokes I knew. And the boss says, hey, let the band go. I'll keep you. And that was it. That's how I got in business.
And then your first big break was on the, was it the Kate Smith
show, yeah.
This was a radio show?
Yeah, that was a radio show, and Rudy Valley had the other show, and I went on with all the jokes I knew, and overnight I'm a smash.
What year was this?
Way back. I don't even remember. It's like a dream, you know.
but I mean, take a guess. I mean...
It must have been 40 years ago.
Yeah? And this was a network radio show?
Yeah, network. So I went on that first night. I was a smash. Had all these jokes. Now, overnight, Edgar Bergen star, Henny Youngman star on the Kate Smith show. Now, Mr. Collins managed me. He said, where's your writers? I had no writers. I had a bunch of jokes saved. I went on and did them, you know. So then writers came to me, luckily. And, when they had the writers, I didn't know about it. And they came to me, and I picked out the jokes I liked, and they stayed on for a year. I was very lucky.
And then later, you were replaced. You actually hired your own replacement for that show, didn't you?
That's right. Abbott and Costello. I was talking to a pal of mine. We were over at the Carnegie Deli the other day, Jack O'Brien, a columnist, and myself, and a fellow named Irving Wells, who remembered way back when Abbott and Costello played burlesque. I was at a nightclub called Alito, Venice, and Patterson. You had to have a police record to work there. My boss used to stab me good night. Anyway, a fellow named Pat Costello was the band leader. He said, my brother's in burlesque. Come on down. So I met Abbott and Costello. They were very good. Now, a few years later, I get a call from MGM. They want to test me for a picture. But I had to get a replacement. So I met Bob Hope. I said, Bob, will you do 2 days for me? He says, I will. Mr. Collins didn't like Bob. I don't know why. So I go to Low State, and I see these two guys, Abbott and Costello, doing Who's on First. That thing they do. And I closed my eyes, and I said, gee, this would be good for radio.
Right.
Mr. Collins came down with Kate Smith, and he bought Abbott and Costello.
Yeah.
And that was
great.
the beginning.
Okay, we gotta pause here for a commercial. We'll be right back to talk with Henny Youngman. Welcome back to the show. Henny Youngman is here. Emily Prager will be joining us. Can you play just a minute of this? Just
I don't have
not
a
like
theme
I'm testing
song
you.
now. I have a thing. How much do you give me not to play? 2 choruses.
2 choruses of your theme song?
Yeah, here we go. Every man needs a certain woman, so take my wife, please. Take my wife, please. Forget it.
Is it true that you have your name listed in the phone book?
Sure, I don't owe any money.
But don't you?
But the William Morris office handles me. William Morris office, and then I built a little business of my own. I deal with 500 agents, more than CIA.
Now, but the point is, if somebody, say in Oklahoma,
Yes.
was having a function, they could just look you up, call you, and ask you to come down and appear?
Sure. Well, I check with my office first to see if I'm available. And I just did commercials in Seattle. I did 40 commercials for Chevrolet. And then I went to the United Front to Sarasota, where I went through the Ringley Museum, which is beautiful, all the circus and the whole bit. And then I went to New York. I did a job. Then I went down to Tampa to the college.
But
I'm back now, and that's what I do, one-nighters.
But all of that sounds reasonable. But you would also, if somebody was having, a birthday party.
Sure I go.
Really?
Why not? Pay me.
Okay, but what kind of, without getting personal here, what kind of money would it take to have you appear at somebody's birthday party or bar
It
mitzvah?
depends on what they can afford. I just did a college. I got $6,000 out in Scottsdale, where I did a lecture with the jokes. Yeah, well, people ask questions.
Yeah.
People ask questions, and 5,000 within reason, and airfares, because some of these jobs take 30 hours.
Oh, sure, I understand that. But again, say if somebody is,
Call me and book me. Send a heavy deposit, and I'll be there.
have you ever worked? Have you ever worked at a party or a private
Certainly,
party?
I keep doing it all the time.
When was the last time? Would you just get up in somebody's living room and?
Whatever they want.
And
Some guy, I walked in on a guy, they brought me in. There's a guy always doing Henny Youngman jokes. So they brought me in as a surprise, the 65th anniversary. As he starts to do my jokes, I said, look, I'll do my own jokes. The guy went crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you are available if folks want to contact
Sure.
you. Yeah.
I got a call last night from a guy named Irving Schneider, who's a lawyer, and I do a joke about him.
Where is he a lawyer?
He's a lawyer right here in New York
Right here in
City,
New
but I do a joke
Oh,
about
that
him.
Irving Schneider.
Yeah. He's wonderful. He'll get you 20 years, just like that. Anyway, I do a joke about fellas looking for a firm, a law firm, picks up the red book. He sees a law firm, Schneider, 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 Schneider. Calls him, I'd like to talk to Mr. Schneider. Not in today, he's playing golf. He's all right, then let me talk to Mr. Schneider. No longer with us, he's retired. Okay, then let me talk to Mr. Schneider. He's in Detroit, won't be back for a week. He's all right, then let me talk to Mr. Schneider. He's speaking.
Are you doing any jokes now that you started out doing years and years ago that have just so good that they?
Yes, I do all the wife jokes. Take my wife, please.
What's the oldest joke you're presently doing in your act, or could do?
Take my wife, please. I take my wife everywhere. I take her everywhere, but she finds her way home.
Yeah.
And I talk about my grandson. He's 26, going to be 27 if I let him.
Now, what was the origin of Take My Wife, Please?
That happened at the Kate Smith show. My wife walked in the last minute with 8 ladies. She said, I need tickets. So I had all the ushers were nice to me to save me some tickets. So I gave them the tickets, and I had about 20 minutes to get ready. The jokes are out and laid out. I said, take my wife, please. And this thing is stuck.
Did you know at the time it was a joke, or were you just saying...
I just said, take her away. I got to get on.
Okay.
I'm married 54 years now.
We have to pause for station identification. You were working in someplace you wanted to mention here?
Well, I got a lot of jobs.
All right, that's enough. Henny has a lot of jobs, folks. We'll let it go at that. Mr. Henny Youngman, ladies and gentlemen. We'll be right back after station identification.